Hello and welcome to the Allegiant Webwise podcast entitled AI Saving Your Business Time and Money. I am Jill Wilson and I'm part of the Allegiant Web Service crew. And I'm here today with Mr. Marty Hollybobs, who's not actually in Hollybobs for a change. This week we have lost Mr. Mike, who is sunning himself in his back garden, drinking Pims and supervising the little gnomes in his garden who are digging themselves up. Uh, and Marty, I think you've got something unmuted there. Are you able to mute it? Yeah. So anyway, Martin and I are holding the fort today. And last week we compared AI companions with a search test and a write me something test. And we found that we liked GPT, got it right, Pro the bestest, followed closely by Copilot and then Gemini, which was the weakest out the bunch. But this week, we have decided to get a little bit more in depth with it, and we're going to do something a little bit more computational and functional, and really an application that will show you how the AI can actually save you time and money in your business. Next week, we're going to look at another calculation. So, there's a different one coming up next week, but this week I'm going to hand it over to Marty Bubs and he's going to show us what he's been doing this week and how that has worked out. So over to you, Martin. Carry on.
Thanks, Jill. Yeah. So this week we're going to look at route planning, it being something where the AI companions have to actually work out something rather than just doing a search, etc. And so we're using some new software. Let's see how this works out. Ooh, look at that. So
here I am in Glasgow. Yeah, whatever.
Okay, and one sec. Just make us a little bit smaller so we can actually see the map. Can't make Jill smaller.
You can't. Oh.
Jill in Glasgow. There we go. Okay. So the reason for showing you the map is just to give you a bit of background if you're not familiar with this part of the country as we are. What we're going to do is we're going to start in Alnwick, which is over here and is just a little bit north of Newcastle. And our scenario is a simple one to start, but we're going to make it more complicated as we go along. The simple one is we have 5 deliveries to make, but we only have 4 vehicles available to us. And our deliveries are 2 of them going north, so Berwick, and then across the border into Duns, Scotland. We've got a couple going south down towards Newcastle, so there's a place called Morpeth, and then one going more across the country a little bit down towards Hexham. So that's what we've asked the AI companions to do, ChatGPT and Copilot and Gemini, and asked them, okay, well, if we all start at Alnwick, how can we get back to Alnwick as soon as possible? And in summary, what happened was that ChatGPT and Gemini quickly worked out that if you've got 5 deliveries and only 4 vehicles, then you're going to have to combine 2 deliveries at a minimum in one of the vehicles, and possibly even 3, depending on geography. Copilot, bless its cotton socks, decided that we could use 5 of our 4 vehicles and make all the journeys in parallel. So I had to go back and tell it, we've only got 4 vehicles, at which point it went, yes. And it recalculated very quickly, which was great. And then started 1 vehicle in Alnwick, started another vehicle in Morpeth, started another vehicle in Berwick. So basically just ignored the fact that everyone is starting from Alnwick. And so it went on. So this ends up being a really a kind of demonstration of the strengths and the weaknesses of AI at the moment. If you had been using Copilot, then basically you'd have given up straight away.
Mm.
But for ChatGPT and Gemini, they both understood what was required. And interestingly, they took a different solution. So ChatGPT combined two particular routes, and Gemini chose to combine two different routes, both of which got us back to Anik within about 10 minutes of each other.
Nice.
ChatGPT was a little bit quicker. However, it needed help from me, the transport manager, the human being, because in its solution, it had combined two vehicles that to me didn't seem to make much sense. It took one that went south and one that went north, and said, the south one can do a quick journey south, come back to base, and then go up north and do that, which is true. But I'm thinking, well, if you've got someone who's already driven up to Berwick, for example, could they not just drop then, go across to Duns, and then come back? More logical. Bear in mind at this point, it's a simple test. And so me as the human can quite easily see that the AI hasn't chosen the best solution.
Mm.
But also bear in mind, we're going to make this more and more complicated. And at some point, whether me as the human can keep up is open to debate. And we'll have a quick look at that. So having established that the routes that they'd taken both made sense, even though they were slightly different, I then asked them, if you set off at 8 o'clock in the morning, at what time will everyone be back at base so that we can then get on with our second set of delivery jobs for the day? And in this respect, Gemini was more realistic in its determination of the average speed on the roads around there. ChatGPT was fine. I mean, after it had given all of its calculations, and it lays them all out, and I'll show you that in a second. The average speed that it thought could be achieved, I know from being local to that area at one point that's just not realistic. But I was able to say to it, no, please use this average speed, and it took less than 10
Mm.
seconds to recalculate absolutely everything.
That's really interesting, isn't it? And I wonder if I mean, obviously, Gemini has access to the Google Maps infrastructure, and that is a really mature infrastructure with really good traffic feedback and stuff like that. So that really actually gives you something back as to what a companion might be the best for what task you're trying to do. So in this case, you were doing something with maps. So actually, Gemini, as part of the Google suite, is really best placed by the sounds of it so far. But do carry on. Tell us more.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point, because I mean, last week we looked at these three different tools doing different tasks, and they were about searching out information. They were about rewriting things, which is the most typical usage at the moment for
Mm.
them. And Gemini was the worst. Copilot and ChatGPT did much better on those. So it does bring home exactly what you just said there, Jill. You've got to use the best tool for the job. And if people say, well, which one's better? Really, the question is, well, let's just drill into that a little bit and go, what are you using it for?
Mm.
It's one reason why, again, if you go back to last week's stream and look at the podcast that we've done, you'll see that my scores are completely different to Jill's and Mike's.
Yeah.
And the reason was because I kind of built this into it. So moving on. What I then asked it to do was to say, okay, let's assume there's a delay. So you get up to Berwick, and 10 minutes before you get to Berwick, there's a huge traffic jam or something like that, and it delays you for half an hour. And originally you were planning to go from Berwick to Duns and back. What would you do now? Recalculate everything. So not just that one truck, but all five of them. What would you do on the fly in order to still achieve, the whole task as quickly as possible? And that was interesting, because both of ChatGPT and Gemini understood the issue, and took less than 10 seconds to do the whole rerouting plan.
Mm.
And it was good what they did. But again, me as the human was thinking, I wouldn't have done that with
Mm.
just that one variable. So let's have a look at what happened on the screen if we can. Okay. So this is from ChatGPT. Can you see that on the screen okay, Jill?
Yes, I can see it, and I can see me, but I can't see you anymore, but that's
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. We can
It's
still hear your lovely voice. You've got a face for radio anyway, so it's
exactly. I was going to say the same thing. I have been told that. There we go. So as you can see, so this bit in the kind of grey is me writing and communicating with ChatGPT, and it of the four vehicles, it reassigned vehicle 2, and you can see that I've said, why did you do that? Is there a better alternative? I knew in my own head there was, but I wanted to see if it could work it out. Really interesting reply.
you're
You're
right.
right. Yeah,
I love it. I love it.
yeah. It does. It does warm you to it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Um, that might not be the most efficient solution, and indeed it wasn't. So let's do something else. So it did that, and oh yeah, we can even scroll in real time. This plan here, updated plan, so you can see it tells you where vehicle 1 should now go,
Mm.
when vehicle 1 would leave, only leave. Okay, it's learned of a delay
Mm.
um, uh, near Berwick, and therefore it's done this, and it produced a conclusion. All of that replanning and producing all of that text there that showed us the new plan took 5 seconds.
Mm.
Okay,
Nice.
so that was pretty impressive, I thought. And then as we went on down through, again, I'm like asking it questions. Well, what's the impact if you didn't do that vehicle? If you did another vehicle, what would happen? And again, it works it all out. And
Mm.
I'm not intending that you read this now, but you get an idea of the volume that's in there. And certainly, if you go look back at
Mm.
the video, you can read what's going on. And it's interesting. It also talked about the advantages of doing vehicle 1 as opposed to vehicle 2, having a new task,
Mm.
and produced a conclusion. And in Gemini, on top of this, you got some advice which was useful. I mean, it might seem like very basic to a seasoned transport manager, but it talked about thinking about as we go on to long journeys, the fact you've got to factor in driver downtime. So
Mm.
that legally, there's only so much time you can drive before you need a break.
Yeah.
And talking also about fuel and talking about a couple of other things that you would naturally take into consideration. But it was good that it thought about it.
Mm.
So I'll just take this off the screen a minute so you don't have to
That's okay.
do lots and lots of scrolling. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And so the output by Gemini was very similar to the Chat GPT one that you've just shown us. Is that right, Martin?
Yes, it
Mm.
was very similar. It had a slightly different solution.
Mm.
But to be fair to it, ChatGPT was using my solution after I advised it that its original one wasn't very good. Um, so, uh, so Gemini didn't have that advantage. But yeah, they were very similar in what they did. The main difference between the two, as I say, Gemini's timings were a little more realistic,
Mm.
and it gave some extra tips and advice about um, driver time and stuff like that, which was nice to have. It wasn't asked for, but it was nice to have. So it made it just a slightly better solution. But there really, was very little in it
Mm.
compared with, as I say, Copilot that just went off and did its own sweet thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Um, have you got something else you wanted to show us?
yeah.
Because I know that you actually ran this past somebody who owns a transport business. I don't know if you want to talk about that now, or if you've got something else you want to show us before we move.
I will come back to that just very quickly.
No
Uh,
worries.
In fact, yeah, rather than showing you lots more text, just explain. So, in order to then make the test a little bit more difficult, I then started throwing in things like, for example, okay, well, these deliveries are being done by trucks, and the size of the trucks you've got are not allowed into Morpeth. Only vehicle 3 is allowed into Morpeth due to, the local council. So now it's got to, again, reroute based on not only the delivery times and how close places are, but the fact that some vehicles can go to a certain place, some vehicles can't. Again, typically every single rerouting of all the vehicles took less than 10 seconds. And then I just started layering more and more if buts. What would you do if this happened? Let's say
Mm.
that's happened. And every single time, both of them were able to lay out, not just we worked it out again, but to give you a table very clearly, that if you were a transport manager or a clerk or whatever, giving it to your drivers, etc., they've all got a plan straight away that shows. And of course, you could do this over the phone by talking to it. I'm typing on a computer, but you could be talking over your phone, and
Mhm.
relaying that information to the drivers. And that was an area where the transport manager was very interested, because the second part of the test, well, it's a slightly different test, but still related to transport, was um, I pulled up a picture of a flat tire. So I didn't say what this is. Now, you and I both know what a flat tire looks like, but if you show a picture to a computer and go, what is this? Certainly last year, it probably would have gone, it's a tire. But to be able to tell between an ordinary tire and a flat tire.
Mm.
So I put that in without any other information, and I just typed in how fix,
How fix?
2 words, how fix.
My English not good.
Yeah, again, it recognized with inside 10 seconds what the problem was, and then gave a step-by-step set of solutions with, interestingly, some safety considerations as well.
Mm.
So and that's another thing where, if you've got a fleet of people who are driving for you, and they've got a problem, and the AI can recognize what the problem is and what a potential solution is, then you can just give that information straight across to your drivers over the phone, and that's an incredible help. So
Absolutely.
two different
If
tests.
you presumably, if you had a pre-existing, contract, say, with the RAC or something like that, you could plug that into your, whatever your companion was, that's part of your business, and then it would take that into account as well. Or if, you must contact the A or whatever, your preferred place to get things fixed is Quick Fit or whatever, then it would maybe, I mean, it'd be interesting to do that and see if it then directed you to the nearest Quick Fit to where the thing happens or whatever.
Yeah, and that's the thing where, one of the great things about these chat companions is that, they're quite easy to converse with, but it's that next level thinking, that you're talking about there, Jill. Like, okay, well, how do I actually integrate that with something else?
Mm,
And that's the bit where you need some technical help,
yeah,
where you're going, okay, I've got a system. How can I automate it to do something else? There's lots and lots of examples.
yeah,
And that's a great idea. There are some other things as well that you could do, but it's all about integrating the AI into your workflow in order to make things work more efficiently. And I would recommend anybody get in contact us for a chat about things like that,
yeah,
because that's where you really start to see the value
yeah.
of these tools.
And of course, keep coming back, keep listening, because there'll be aspects of that we'll revisit over time. This is such an exciting field. I don't see us moving away from it in a hurry. It's just so much is happening at the moment, and so useful for our business and for your business as well. So, yeah, I think that's been a really fascinating look at that, Martin. Have you got anything else you'd like to share with us on?
Not specifically on the route planning. No, I mean, I think we're both going to talk about that. This is just one example of how you could be using AI.
Mm,
Next week we're going to talk about a different example. But I'd really ask any businesses out there to start thinking about, hmm, is there a way in which we could be taking advantage of this?
mm,
Because I think for every it doesn't matter what industry you're in. There are ways in which you can improve your processes through automation, and this starts to open up, so many possibilities that weren't there months ago, not
Yeah.
years ago, but months ago. The speed of change is absolutely incredible. So, yeah, like you say, Jill, even if you haven't got anything at the moment, please do come back to us or get on our mailing list, in order to get updates about, what we see happening in this field.
Or just book in for a no obligation chat and just kick some ideas around with us. We're open to that. There might be things that we can see that you can't actually see in your business because you're a bit too close to it, and you're thinking, well, Bob's always carried that bit of paper to Jeannie, and and we can. Oh, hello. What happened there? Oh, my life. So
Click
just
the
to
button.
let you know, guys, that we're using a new software and Martin's obviously playing with it. So we're trying a new one called Wave.video where we normally use Restream. So we were just saying before we came online that one day we'll probably do a wee comparison with some of the different streaming tools that are out there and see and obviously listen to you guys as well. So if you've got any favorites and you want to let us know about them and we'll have a look and test them out, we're open to that, as long as they've got a free trial, of course. Anyway, yes, if anybody has any questions, hit us up at hello@allegiantweb.com and we will happily have a cup of tea and a chat and kick about some ideas. And what else was I going to say? Oh, yes, next week. Yes, next week, as Martin quite rightly said, we're going to have another look at another complex computational type scenario, which was based on business. And it's actually one that is very pertinent to you if you're trying to get a profit in your business, which I'm hoping that most of you are. Because I started to use the ChatGPT to work out what I would need to have in place in order to make a profitable business, which is really interesting reading. So join us next week to find out what that looks like. Any last moment comments, Martin? Or are you going to change us up before we go, or are we saying goodbye?
Yeah, no, we've got a little outro screen.
New
Just
outro.
like,
Check it out.
we've streamed this, and I was supposed to be keeping an eye on the comments as well, but it was just one too many things for me to do. So I apologize for anybody who had the comments and didn't get the questions. The recording, if you're not watching this live, then obviously the recording will be available soon, both on YouTube and hopefully on our various LinkedIn channels. So please do leave any comments. Let's say it's new software for us, new venture for us. Let us know what you think, how we could improve. And also, if there's something that you want us to start looking at in terms of AI, then please do get in touch, like Jill said. And now I'm going to click a button and we'll see whether we disappear or not. Don't stop watching.
Say goodbye.
Hey guys, before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to make sure you don't miss another episode. Please leave us a like or a review. It truly makes a difference when you leave reviews. And head over to allegiantweb.com/podcast, where you'll find a full transcript of the show, some key points, and quite a few other goodies for you. Let's build this thing together and really make a difference. All right, catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.